So, I wanted to give my thoughts on things that I see happening in our society, especially right now when people are consistently confused about where they should be, taking themselves, their families, which direction they should take in their lives. And they look up to their pastors, they look up to their leaders as their hope and the model that they should follow. But then they're consistently disappointed in these leaders because these leaders are so flawed, corrupt, mean, selfish, egotistical. And so the people then are confused as to why should I try to be good if the people who are leading me or the people who I have my hopes in are so bad? And the reason why this means a lot to me is because I was also one day one of those leaders. I was also a mess. I was a leader who used to profess my own beliefs and encourage people to believe and behave in a certain way. But then behind the scenes, I also was messing up. I was making mistakes. I was not, honest. I was not straightforward. I was not humble. I lacked integrity. I lacked focus. I lacked consistency. And during that period of time, I realized that most of those people who were looking up to me were looking at me for something that they were looking for in themselves. And because they didn't believe that they had those values that they saw in me, they were wanting to be like me. So they wanted to, aspire to be like me. And when I went through these phases and, started seeking myself and realized that you also were looking up to people, trying to be like people rather than being the best version of yourself. And in that journey to try to be like others, and in that journey to try to please others, you went astray. And so I decided that the first thing that I would do, just like I'm advising you right now, is to seek for who I was. What was valuable to me? Who was I really? What did I want to be? What was important to me? And stop focusing on other people. Stop focusing on what other people were doing. Stop focusing on what other people were becoming. Stop focusing on what were other people's beliefs about life. Try to develop my own philosophy, my own thoughts, my own beliefs, and let myself be guided by those principles and align with the God I believe in, which is Jesus Christ. And I realized that in that time I had to disconnect from social media. I had to disconnect from a lot of people and a lot of things that used to distract me in my thinking, because rather than focusing on what I felt was important, I would always go back to what they would say as what is important, or what they would think as what is important. And that would always lead me to having, a confused mind. Because I would look at these people and I would see them doing things which I myself felt like was not the right thing to do. But because I was inspired by them, because I, believed in them, because I was following them, I convinced myself that there must have been a good reason as to why they were doing it. But today, I want to tell you this. Any leader you see whose actions are not consistent with their words, you should not follow. Any leader you see whose beliefs are not consistent with their actions, you should not follow. You should not listen. Lead your life from your own principles. Seek out God and try to understand what does He have in store for you and what type of leadership is He expecting from you, and make that leadership your focus. All of us are flawed as human beings. Hence why a human being cannot save another human being. A sinner cannot save another sinner. Someone who's flawed cannot help someone else who's not flawed be flawless. Only God can help us. And the people He sends to us are people who are inspired by Him, who have, given up their own thoughts and their own beliefs so that God can be the one who guides them. God can be the one who inspires them. God can be the one who opens their minds and allows them to understand what they're supposed to be doing. Ask. And so, what I'm going to tell you today is this. If you find in the news that your pastor has cheated on his wife, that your CEO is an alcoholic, that your father is a crook, that your mother-in-law is a hypocrite, don't be surprised. They're human beings just like you and I. But the reason why it affects us so much is because we put them in such a pedestal that immediately they miss the mark. We start saying, wow, if he has done that, what about me? But what if you decided that you were going to focus on your own values, on your own life, and you're going to do the things the right way, and not focus on how others are living their lives or how they're being righteous or unrighteous, and you focus on your own righteousness? And you focus on how you can improve yourself so that you can be less of a corrupt individual, less of a liar, less of a cheat, less of a procrastinator. You start getting to meetings on time. You'll be honest with your wife and your husband. You're honest with your children. You are reliable. Whatever you say, you stick to it. When you know you can't do something, don't say it. And the more you focus on your own leadership, and the more you're inspired by your own leadership, and the more you keep your own leadership in check, the better you become and the more people will want to be like you. Because that's the challenge we're facing today, is that we're all trying to be like flawed people who know how to hide their flaws, but then because we're in a world where the media and the truth is always coming out, the day it comes out, rather than looking at them for what they've done and who they are, we look at ourselves and say, well, if he couldn't be perfect, then I can't be perfect, right? No. He or she were not honest with themselves. He or she are flawed in themselves, just as I was, right? And so if you're in that same position, work on yourself. Focus on yourself. Improve yourself. That's what I want to tell you today. Work and improve yourself. Don't focus on these leaders and say, I want to be like them. I want to be... No, they're flawed just like you are. Work on yourself and you be a better leader than the people who are leading you right now.